20th day of August 2024. I'm going to be your host tonight. Welcome, everybody. You can call into these shows at 709-589-4406. So we're covering mass species die-offs for over a decade. Can we eat Japanese seafood after Fukushima discharges nuclear-treated water? And so the average person out there thinks that this started on August the 24th, 2023. The reactors were destroyed right away. Not 13 years later, 12 years later. There was 30 million one-ton bags they picked up just in 3% of the land. So how does it stay out of the ocean? Like each of these buildings, each of the reactor cores are 100 Chernobyls, but at the top of each of the buildings were around 8 reactor cores, and they were in 2 fuel pools, and you can see them highlighted in red up there. And then the center one is the reactor core. And each of these are pure uranium, pure plutonium reactor cores. So each fuel pool has at least 4, because they don't have a repository anywhere on the planet. And by the way, they're growing food right alongside the one-ton bags, millions of them. And that's just in Fukushima prefecture. The food was banned in 14 prefectures by 55 countries. So to suggest that it didn't go into the ocean, especially for educated people that got a university degrees and works in fisheries and oceans, for instance, and stuff like that, or marine biologists or whatever, and they don't even bother to look and see if the reactors were how bad they were destroyed. It's unforgivable, really, and we see a lot of it. Where if you say Fukushima, they roll their eyes because they watch TV and they seen these people claiming they're in the building to the left, which is part of the building they're claiming they're in. That's reactor 4 in particular. Is 160 feet in the air, and you got to be above that to be looking down onto the fuel pool like they're doing.
Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion.
We are here inside reactor 4 at the Fukushima
And so you can't be at the top of a building that don't exist.
Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in reactor 4.
At the end of our tour, we were checked for radiation exposure. In 4 hours, I received the equivalent of less than a chest x-ray.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel.
And that's Cecilia Vega. She's the White House press secretary, or press club for CBS now. That was ABC Australia at that time. But I mean, to be at the very top of the building, looking down on the building in a fuel pool, when the building actually looked like that. And people don't think that's suspect? What's going on? Are smart people really smart? So 40% drop. I'm just going to touch a couple of these. We covered it all last night. This is part 2. I can't go through everything again because it takes so long to get through the shows. So they starved to death. Suspect is food scarcity / emaciation. And so that's 10,350 dead whales in 2019, of the gray whales, rather. So did they die of the bird flu, Dana? No. Bird flu is meant to make you, it's a generic answer for mass species die-off, and you shouldn't tolerate it. It's the equivalent of those people pretending they're in a fuel pool at the top of a building that doesn't exist. How can you ever, under any circumstances, look at CNN, ABC, CBS, BBC again, or the rest of the media that done that? How can you ever go back and read an article or watch one of their programs. How does that actually work in your heads? How do you justify that? And not be out asking a question, demanding an answer of why they're pretending they're in a building that don't exist. How is this acceptable in a society that thinks they're smart and that has a supercomputer in their fucking hand and yet doesn't have the presence or the common sense to ask a simple question and then treat it appropriately with disgust and contempt for doing what they've done to you? You got professors of nuclear and quantum engineering trying to convince you that it's equal to 2.2 grams is all that got out of these buildings. And then trying to convince you that is equal to 3 grams of sugar going into the ocean. Why do you think they're doing that? Why would a professor of nuclear and quantum engineering in South Korea recently suggest that is equal to 3 grams of sugar going into the ocean? Well, 10,350 gray whales, these were emaciated. The total number died of ship strikes in history combined, recorded in 2023, confirmed was 1,200 reports. So you got a discrepancy of, and we're only talking about gray whales, 10,350. It's not just gray whales and emaciated, lack of food. Refusing to treat it with the dignity and the prominence that it deserves. And then we have a mortality event for humpback whales, right? Not just humpback whales, but Atlantic whales, gray whales, minke whales, beaked whales, killer whales, sperm whales. It's unbelievable. Every species out there is showing up emaciated and starved to death. And everybody's, no, there's nothing got out of Fukushima, Dana. I read the stories at friggin' Wall Street Journal or New York Times, Dana, and they don't say the buildings look like that, Dana, so they're journalists, you're not. So fuck you, Dana. Fuck you. I know, that's what I've been living with for all these years. And so I got an easy reply. I got a simple reply to all of it. But they're not going to stick around long enough to hear the answer, are they? I went out and done research for 6 fucking years. 6 years! 4 to 5 months a year getting the shit kicked out of me every day. And then assaulted and attacked and vilified and demonized and smeared, to the day even, for taking pictures of the coastline and the GPSs of where I go. And what I see is the species that to your left that were there in 2011 don't exist, and the next 5 years they didn't come back. You know what that means, right? You can pretend all you want that this is not an extinction event, but you're fucking stupid if you do. You're stupid. Not being upset, not getting active, not speaking out, not getting educated, not fucking having a conversation with those who are in positions that need to know. I can't comprehend it. This is pictures that I took. I went back for 6 years to see if those species came back, because the ocean is supposed to be a super life, and it didn't come back. And I'm not supposed to be upset or indignant or confused by all these geniuses out there with degrees from universities who work with fisheries and oceans and the marine life and biologists. And how can all these people be so complacent that this doesn't alarm you? That the species are actually missing? That doesn't alarm you because your favorite idiot tube didn't tell you to be alarmed? You friggin' zombie. That's the definition of a zombie, right? How can you not care about these species? How can you claim to be a wildlife expert or a wildlife scientist or a wildlife academic or a marine biologist or whatever and not fucking care about them missing? And that everybody pretending they're on top of buildings that don't even exist. You buy into that one? Oh, I've seen it on TV, Dana. They didn't show that picture there. They showed the real picture, that picture there, Dana. Like, why would I lie to you? You stupid fucking nobody. Why would I lie to you, the people that say that stuff to me? You think this is a picnic walk 13 years later? You think this hasn't destroyed my fucking life? Trying to help you and try to help all the species, trying to do the moral and ethical thing that you refuse to acknowledge even exists, let alone be capable of trying? What is wrong with your heads? When a person goes out on the ocean for 6 years, documents everything, GPSs everything, after a massive event, and unequivocally, categorically shows you that this is an extinctional level event, and at the time to act was constantly then, and it's never too late to act. You got to get rid of the nuclear industry. It's got to go. And you might say, this is impossible, but it's not. The minute the planet wakes up, the nuclear industry is going to go deep six into the radioactive oceans, because that's all that's going to be out there is just nuclear waste. I'm going to run you through a bunch of headlines. We started last night. There's no way to get through everything that we collected in the last month or so. But emaciated and disappeared are the main theme of tonight. Strap yourselves in. Hang on tight, because we're going to rock and roll through these headlines the best we can. It's unconscionable that we don't have academics out there that are telling the truth about these stories. Right? There's no nuclear scientists out there saying, well, yeah, the fuel pools are gone. When any academic that looks at it in the nuclear industry knows the fuel pools were gone out of the reactors. It's categorically insane that any architects and engineers or any nuclear scientists or any university professor or university dean or any expert on the entire planet could look at these buildings and say the fuel pools are at the top of them. So what's going on? Well, the event was so catastrophic, it wiped out the food chain, and that manifested for us, particularly because we say we care about whales, but we don't prove it. If you care about whales, you kill the fucking nuclear industry. If you care about insects, you'll kill the nuclear industry. And we're talking about tens of thousands of whales have died, emaciated. And the headlines today were all, another dead whale, dead whale, dead whale, dead, emaciated, dead. And every one of them says possibility of a ship strike. And lots of times in the headlines, when it's absurd to suggest that every whale that dies is dying from a ship strike. The reality of it is they're all emaciated. Look at this headline here from the 16th of July. 3 dead or dying whales, dead or dying. That's an interesting way to frame it, isn't it? Off the Washington coast in 4 days is no cause for concern, says a conservationist. No cause for concern. 3 dead or dying whales in 4 days is no cause for concern. And this is supposed to be a conservationist. This is literally a moron. And I'm being very polite because I'm on YouTube, but like these are literally the stupidest creatures who will sell out everything to get on their favorite TV station or something. And sure, the recent increase, this is not a recent increase, it hasn't stopped post Fukushima. In whale carcasses, this is a conservationist, on beaches along the Washington coast, not a cause for concern, according to the Department of Biodiversity, Conservations and Attractions. Conservation work from the department said a sharp rise in the humpback whale numbers is the likely cause of an increased sightings of dead or dying whales. I don't know if I actually heard that excuse in all these years. And these thousands and thousands and thousands of stories that we covered. I honestly don't think I ever heard that one before. That's a new one on me. And they're sad but expected. Conservation idiot Anthony Desmond, the Department of Biodiversity Conservation Attractions. It boggles the mind as somebody with those acronyms behind their name can utter such an annoying and idiotic statement. Said that animals' deaths are not surprising considering large populations of humpbacks were known to be moving up and down the Washington coast. Yeah, artificial intelligence just showed 7,000 more whales had died than they previously acknowledged. And we only see one in every 10. The rest of them sink. So if they got 3 washed up, that means 30 whales just died, right? But their spin is the reason I'm showing it is this bizarre spin that they like to put out there. There's a population of humpback whales that grow massively in the last couple of decades to probably something in the excess of 45,000 animals traveling up and down the coast, going both ways. Shit for brains says. There's 7,000 died in the last couple of years. Like, the truth is completely opposite of what he's telling everybody. A mixed bag of possible explanations, including nutrition from their time in the Antarctic, how much food is available, or the case of the ocean currents bringing their bodies closer to shore than usual. And there's people out there that love him, that thinks he's a good person, that thinks he's got friends and families, that actually thinks he's part human. It blows my mind that people like that can actually exist. BBC, concern over the declining insect numbers. It's a real worry, said scumbags from the BBC. Bug Splat's survey shows a decline in insect numbers. Bug Splat survey, which I done in 2015, 2016, 2017. And we were going to places where the forest would end, on Vancouver Island, for instance, where there's the true, the Cathedral Grove giant rainforest, just unbelievable spruce trees. And you can drive cars through the trees, some of these trees, because the way they rotted on the bottom or grew. You can put 50 people in there and get your picture taken, and they do. And so when they come down through there, they're coming down through about 70 kilometers of this protected tropical rainforest. And when you come out the other end, there's a gas station, so there's a lot of tourists goes there, and they're great big motorhomes, big beautiful white motorhomes. And so I went for days and days and interviewed everybody. And I also went to the pinch points on the highways where the wind gathers up and where there's like structures, right? And the sand will gather up in the corners, and I checked those areas, and there's no insects there. But anyway, I checked, I'd done a survey, and I'm talking around about 100-ish RVs, and they had no blood splatters on the front of them. And the ones that I did, because some of them were there, so I talked to them. I asked them, was it okay if I took pictures of the front of the vehicles? We also done a survey another year where we had truck drivers that were driving across the United States and Canada would call in or would email me with pictures of the front of their rigs after 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,000 kilometer hauls, right? And there were some bug spatters, absolutely, but very, very few. You can count it on 1 or 2 hands. And so when you see a headline like this, the 24th of April, 2024, Bug Splat survey shows a decline. My surveys for years and years didn't count. It's only if you're a scumbag from a conservationist department or something that it counts, apparently. And then they show you a hummingbird, which is and hummingbirds don't eat insects; they eat honey. This is fucking idiots, man. The annual Bug Matters survey recorded an 89% decline. Here's a pretty little fella, that one. They pollinate crop, provide natural pest control, decompose waste, recycle nutrients, underpin the food chains to support the birds, the mammals, and other wildlife, and particularly spiders. Without insects, the planet's ecological system would collapse. Without insects, the planet's ecological system is now collapsing. And apologize to everybody right here, right now. What are you apologizing for? I didn't put the poll up. Darn it. Is Fukushima thousands of times worse than Chernobyl and the cause of the mass die-off and extinction level event that we're witnessing, that we went out and researched for 6 years straight? Well, yes, it is, Dana. Well, thank you very much. Insects are critical to the survival of our planet as we know it, and a world without them is a shocking thought indeed. No, it's a reality now, isn't it? Post-Fukushima. 80 years of the nuclear emissions, and then this massive event from Fukushima. Four reactor cores, 3 were running, and you had 8 fuel pools with 4 reactor cores at least in each one. And by the way, the fuel pools are all splitting atoms. There's no containment. And that's why all nuclear power plants are surrounded by farms, because they fucking love you so much. They want to poison you in your supermarket. And you're too cowardly to make them fucking stop. Insects are critical to the survival of our planet as we know it, in the world without it. It's not a shocking thought. It's an extinction event. The planet's ecosystem would collapse / ecosystem extinction level event. What's another word for the ecosystem collapsing? It's an extinction level event. Are you with me or are you with me? I'm so pissed off. I was out today looking for insects and birds, and I couldn't find any again today. Which reminds me, we got pictures from 2 days ago and videos. We'll get to a few more of them maybe in a bit. Dead whales on Block Island identified, part of an unusual mortality event. The photos were sent to CCS to see if the whale was in the center's Gulf and Marine Humpback Whale catalog. It was a whale named Binary, female. Refers to the system of viewing genders as consisting solely of 2 identities and sexes, a man and a woman, or a male and a female. So they named a whale a fucking transvestite. Excuse the language. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it or nothing. I'm just saying that's what they done. There's nothing sacred, not even whales. Oh, that looked like a transvestite whale to me, Dana. But there's one of the scientists didn't capture him and try to give him a sex change after they named him binary. Oh, I like it. He needs a sex change. It's been happening along the Atlantic coast from Maine to Florida. Like, if people want to do that, that's great. That's just up to them. But don't shove it down all the kids' throats. My goodness. If you ever come across a stranded or entangled marine mammal or turtle, don't call these monkeys. Rally the neighborhood and go out and do it. There's lots of real men in your communities. Stay away from the fake ones with the suits on at the marine offices. Anything with the word officer attached to it, just stay away from it. You're dealing with a moron. 100-foot-long dead whale washes ashore on the beach. That's a whale shark, whale shark. And when I was around 14 years old, like, I had my own little 10-foot flat-bottom plywood speedboat with a brand new 15 horsepower in the back of it. So this thing would just fly on the ground swells, right? So I was out breaking the motor in, because you got to burn a couple of tanks of gas back then, right? It was pretty bad weather, so you couldn't get on the outside. And we were right open ocean into the Atlantic. And I'm zipping along, and still the groundswell will come right in the harbor. And I'm zipping along at that, and I see there was two of them right in front of me. And they were twice the length of my boat anyway. That's how that was my brain at that age, right? And I didn't know what a whale shark was. I thought it was sharks, and I thought they were going to actually eat me. Of course, they're whale sharks. Everybody laughed at me when I told them. But I panicked, pulled the motor up, and I didn't have to worry about it. They were just feeding on plankton. 100 foot long. 100 foot long. Oh, that's a whale. I thought it was a whale shark. My problem there. Because it looked like a whale shark to me with the spots. Ah, boy, Dana. It was suspected whale might have been struck by a ship or a large boat. Maybe a fucking airplane hit it. Maybe the Americans, that's what they do with their jet fighters when they're finished with them, they run them into whales. I know in Canada, they run them into seagulls. Canada's got 4 submarines. They're all at the West Edmonton Mall. You can get a ride on them for like $3 or something. 125 dolphins struck, 10 dead in a record-breaking stranding. Struck. Let me go back to that one more time. They figured the 100-foot-long whale was hit by a ship or a large boat. It was suspected. Leading to now, when they're dead and they're floating, it's pretty easy to hit one, right? And when you got 20,000 of them dying over a couple of years, it wouldn't be hard to imagine a few of them getting hit. But a whale's actually really, really smart. It's not like a zombie where its tail does what it wants and it just opens its mouth and swims around all day. It's actually pretty smart. And so there's 1,200 dead whales in 2023 recorded worldwide. And then the official records didn't begin until 2007. But they obviously had a record and they were lumped in. So it was leading up to 2007. And now there's a mass, every whale out there, the media is saying, it's probably a ship strike. Never go back to that media when you see that. 125 dolphins stuck. Well, clearly that water is plenty deep enough they're not stuck, right? In a record-breaking stranding off Cape Cod, they're stuck. At least 10 Atlantic-sized white dolphins died off the Cape Friday after 125 were stranded during low tide. Is the biggest single mass stranding event in the response history in the past 25 years. 2 years ago, I recorded and reported on, went down and there was 3 the white-nosed dolphin strandings in the period of, a month or something, in different parts of the coastline where they all died. Now they got caught, to be fair, they got caught in ice flow, but the ice wasn't so wide they couldn't find their way out of there, and the ice wasn't so thick they couldn't have came up in different spots and got air. They chose to beach. And I screwed up. Wait for me. Every time when I'm reading, and I apologize, because when I'm doing my stories, I get angry sometimes. Because when I'm putting it together, and I read all the laws, and then I got to sit there and tell the story, it's hard. It's very difficult for me to be nice to about these people. The most arrogant weirdos I've ever come across. Teams use 3 small vessels in the water to continue herding and using underwater pingers to urge the dolphins in the right direction. So they're just trying whatever they want. That's not something we've heard before, by the way, is it? Highlights from the 5th Insect to Feed the World 2024 conference. Well, because what it is we broke the food chain. Fukushima has broken the food chain. And those in the know we got to come up with an alternative source. And there's been movies out about this for years and years and years, that at some point the nuclear industry would wipe everything out, and we would only have insects that we can grow in sheds or whatever. So this is the 5th insect to feed the world. So 5 years ago, this started. And 5 years ago, the extinction level event, I was on the Pacific coastline 5 years ago doing research in the 27,000 islands, and I showed the pictures at the beginning. And the world's not shocked. Nobody's repeating, nobody's asking questions. What a stupid fucking planet to be on. The event served as a pivotal platform for advancing dialogue and collaboration in the insect feed and food sector. Over 600 participants attended the IFW 2024, underscoring its significance as a global gathering of industrial morons, idiot researchers, degenerate policymakers, and predatory entrepreneurs. And the next one will be 2026, managed by, you guessed it, the Academic Society for Insects as Food and Feed. The Academic Society for Insects as Food and Feed. Well, another species. U.S. officials plan to kill hundreds of thousands of barred owls to save another species from extinction. They're going to kill hundreds of thousands of owls. Are part of the ecosystem. To save another species from extinction, they say. To save the imperial spotted owl from potential extinction, the U.S. wildlife officials are embracing a contentious plan to deploy trained shooters in dense west coast forests to kill almost 500,000 owls that are crowding out their smaller cousins. And barrel owls already are being killed in the spotted owl's habitat for research purpose, with about 4,500 removed since 2009. Do they really need 4,500 owls for research? With the technology we got today, you can just look at their poop and figure out what they're eating, right? So what else are they going to be studying? Supporters of killing barred owls to save spotted owls include American Bird and other conservation groups. Gotcha. Why not list them? Unhinged woman threatens to call the police over a man releasing a fish, you bastard. You sick fucker. How can you release a fish? Yeah, and you got to watch this. What a a-hole, man. Her husband makes a lot of money, so everything she thinks between her two beady little eyes is fact, and everybody else can be damned. Death of a humpback whale in Nova Scotia river. Way up the river. This is way up the river, too. Jesus, I gotta stop double clicking. Dana, stop that double clicking. What the hell was this? Yeah, there we go. So this is way up a river, and I was trying to figure out exactly how far up the river. This is way up a freshwater river. Now it's in a place where there is a high tide, right? But they don't see whales way up there. Whales don't go up there. After the tide had gone out, so the tide brought it up there. Well, it went up there with the tide, but that's not the whale's habitat. He was able to start swimming, but he's in a big mud flat. Like every single day, we're seeing this acceleration of the whales die off. I think that sits in the back of everyone's mind when they start to see species in weird places, and even other species that are not normal. On Monday, an endangered blue whale was seen in St. Mary's Bay off Long Island, Nova Scotia. It appeared to be fine. So, like, really? Because there's a whale out there, you got to analyze it? Oh, I would think that one's okay. That tells you there's panic going on, doesn't it? A beached mink whale in June in the Shubenacadie River was rescued by river rafters. And he's noticed seeing bottlenose dolphins appearing more often in the area over the last few years, which was unusual. The ocean seems to be changing. It's warming. The food is changing. The food quality is changing. Not only is the food changing, but the food quality is changing. The animals themselves, their health. And so this is all suggesting emaciation, isn't it? So the group was a bit astonished that it was a humpback whale on the sandbars. This was the Society for Whales or something was astonished. It was still alive at that point. It may be following fish, or maybe there was a turtle chased it up the river. Because little turtles are pretty aggressive, right? And whales are scared of turtles, like elephants are scared of mice. Whales are scared of little turtles. Everybody knows this. It was like nothing I ever seen before. Who've been working on the whale watching boat for 30 years. So the blue whale could have likely been looking for food. Listen, the whales have a migratory pattern. And this is indelible. It's indented, embedded, and glued into their DNA. And they're driven by this genetic predisposition. And they just can't change their minds. And all of them that we're seeing for years and years now can't just randomly all of a sudden, post-Fukushima, they all decided to do whatever they fucking want. No more, who cares about my DNA? I'm a whale, I can do whatever I want. Blue whales eat krill, so they're emaciated. Krill live about 10 years, and post-Fukushima, we've seen a decline of the krills and the species like the cormorants and migratory species that are dependent upon krill, which are like a big shrimp, right? About the size of your thumb, say. And they can live up to 10 years. But because we sterilized the ocean now, they stop reproducing. And what you expect to see is species dependent upon them showing up emaciated. And we've been following it for quite a few years. Humpback whale washes up on Swampscott Beach the second time in a month on the North Shore. Pre-Fukushima, the odds of two whales showing up in the same area did. You had better chances of getting hit by a Soviet satellite in the next few seconds. Now it's normal. Whales just, that's what they do now. There's a beach. Come on, boys, it's time to kill ourselves. And everybody knows every species of whale out there now, when he sees a beach, you probably should just go and put fences on all the beaches, stop the fucking whales from washing up there and killing themselves, right? I know Science Direct will steal that idea now. That'll be their idea, but I think we can save the whales if we build big fucking fences on all the beaches so they can't swim up there and die. Nobody thought about that one, see? Entire pod of 89 polar whales die on a Scottish beach in a freak mass stranding. Freak! Well, over there it is. What are they doing over there? They're not supposed to be there. They're supposed to be feeding on squid, by the way. biggest mass stranding the country's seen since 1995. First off, be very, very cautious of everything they tell you. 12 polar whales were still alive. And the rescuers immediately performed health assessments and first aid. So whoever wrote the story had never even seen a fucking whale. The pod was composed of a large male up to 22 feet, as well as smaller females, calves, and juveniles, according to the degenerate BBC, the monstrous BBC. Large strands like this one are becoming, we need some drum music, increasingly common. It used to be quite unusual to have a mass stranding event, but over post-Fukushima, the last 10 years, it's normal. The cause is unclear, he said, but it could be due to there being more animals at sea, Dana. Or because these animals are exposed to more hazards, Dana. Or maybe it was the tide. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe it was a storm, right? Because in the United Kingdom, that's one of their favorite. Well, they had some pretty big storms. Probably washed them whales up. Say they couldn't swim in it, right? It was too windy for them. And there's so many idiots, and that's the ones they're going to interview. And the more stupid it is, the more likely they're the one who are going to make it up into the stories that we're going to end up stuck with. Just maybe they starved to death. Because in 2015, 2016, when pilot whales washed up dead in groups, this is what they were discovered, was they were starving to death. They had nothing in their stomachs. And there's different groups of them, right? I like to strangle every one of them. Let me see what we got here. That's not what I wanted. It's close to it, though. Let's get the rest of it. Well, here's that story. 2014, for instance. Necropsies performed on the 8 whales on Monday showed the animals all had empty stomachs. Oh, wow. And that the whales that died in the Everglades, there's like 30 of them, also had empty stomachs. Well, what a coincidence. And this was normal 2014, 2015, 2016. And they also had peanut heads. They were emaciated. That's what we should do with nuclear scientists, is give them peanut heads. Major operation to find a cause of a mass whale pod. Major operation. We're going to look at everything but their stomach content. Maybe a boat. They all get hit by a boat. Maybe there's a mad boater out there running the whales down. That's what's going on, Dana. Well, like if you put a fence on your beach, this wouldn't happen, okay? This whole world needs a fence on every beach to stop the whales from going up there and committing suicide. And put another one on the other side of the beach to keep the fucking scientists off it. And we are going to record as much detail as they can. There will be some post-mortem. Will there be some? You're not going to look for a consensus? No stone left unturned, but we're not going to check their stomachs. Try to work out what's happened. Dude, what's happening? Let me put myself up there for a few seconds. So we can take place as well, so that we can hopefully try and work out what has happened. Like you had 1,000 beaked whales washed up on your beaches in Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom, in just like a 7-8 month period, in different stages of decomposition. 1,000, which meant 10,000 beaked whales died. You should never see a beaked whale. They're way offshore and they dive really deep all day long. So we're putting a tag on everyone so we know which animal is which. Oh, did you just see a money grab? That's what they're doing, right? For now, we'll work out which animals are perhaps in the worst condition. Nutritionally, and they'll be the ones we'll target. Nutritionally. What would you say nutritionally? In the best conditions. What do you mean by that? Nutritionally. Oh, you're suggesting they starved to death. Oh, ain't that nice of you? Slaves are being asked to stay away from the area because you're not a degenerate scientist like them, see? Nothing personal. They look down on you like you were a paper fucking towel that somebody just used. The oldest females seen as having the authority in the pod. And look at them. Oh, is this going to be up in the paper? Wait, I got to get my good side. Using samples from the whales, they can rule out diseases, entanglements. Using samples, they can rule out entanglement. Ear damage from sonar. An interaction from predators. I almost want to go run my fucking head into a wall after I read these stories. Oh, figures the British Divers Marine Life Rescue. Charity. We've covered them probably friggin' 200 times. These are literally the morons of society in that country. And apparently there's a lot of these morons in that society. The British Divers Marine Life Rescue are on the scene. Yay, fucking yay. That's so depressing to hear that. And are currently assessing all of the animals, so shut the fuck up and mind your own business. Because we're still in the assessment phase. I despise these people, eh? Is that obvious? Is that too obvious? Why is it the United Kingdoms, the government side of the United Kingdom, why are they so much more eviler than every other evil government? Because they're always orders of magnitude worse than the rest of the fucking scumbags. In every story that we see with these people, it's the same thing. And Lord knows we cover enough of it. Gray whales swim into the San Francisco Bay in increasing numbers. See, that's it. Like, it's they've been veering after normal routes. Something that 1 million generations have done, and they're like, oh, fuck it. We can do what we want. This is post-Fukushima. We'll go wherever we feel like it. Why does everything change after Fukushima, see? Their normal route along the west coast is swimming under the Golden Gate bridges into San Francisco Bay in unprecedented numbers. Yeah, because they can smell all the sewage. They're looking for food. They're fucking starving to death. They're emaciated like all of the 10,350 other dead ones that showed up all the way up to 2019. Using thousands of photographs to confirm at least 71 different gray whales and possibly 84 or more swam into the bay between 2018 and 2023, with some staying for more than 2 months. For 2 months, they were too weak to go on their migratory route. What can cause a whale to delay his migratory route by 2 months is the question you're supposed to be asking. Raising their risk of being hit by a cargo ship, oil tankers, vessels, airplanes, kamikazes. Don't you just hate these people? Is it impossible not to hate these people is the better question. Isn't that what the poll should have been tonight? Is it impossible not to hate these fucking lawyers? These degenerate, useful idiots for whatever industry is pulling their puppet strings? From 2010, it's interesting to use the word 2010. Only about 1 or 2 of the giant marine mammals came to the bay every year. Last year it was 16, 2019 there was 21. This year is 84. And they didn't stay in the bay. Oh, we think it got a lot to do with the very bottom of the paragraph. Some are malnourished, he said. They always put that at the very bottom of the story. We think it has a lot to do with the fact that the whales haven't been getting enough food, said the biologist. Why didn't you say that at the beginning? Why did you lead them all down these different paths to get to the fact before you give them to the fact? They got nothing to do with all the other paths you led them on. Some are malnourished. Some's malnourished, emaciated. They may be weak and they're resting for 2 months. Or they're looking for an alternative food source because their food source is not. Now, the only reason that you see these connotations is because they're emaciated. Because the nuclear industry has wrecked your planet over 80 years. But Fukushima was a pulse event. And it's time to get rid of this nuclear industry. You got to get rid of them. They're exterminating everything. And now they're gone down the most dangerous route imaginable. We got all the universities and all the medias and all the cowardly academics worldwide keeping their fucking pie holes shut. Or coming out and telling outrageous, ridiculous, alternative explanations that are completely... They're not acceptable in any part of humanity. This is in the year 2020... when we're all supposed to be, educated enough. The best way to look at it, 400 years ago, the average education for most people was probably a grade 3 or something. But the politicians, they would have been like a grade 8, 9, 10 or something. And then the kings and the queens or something like that would have been like a grade 10 or a grade 11. But only them would have had those types of education. And so they understood a lot of simple things, like wash your hands after you wipe your arse and everything else, right? But the average person this was kept away from them. It was the equivalent of feeding everybody fluoride, like they're doing now, for instance. Purposely trying to keep them stupid. And then you see all these actual university-educated, highly articulated academics and journalists and everything else, and they write these stories and construct them in such a way that the average person who happens to read the story is like, who cares? Fuck the whales. That's basically what people are going to say. Because they make it incapable of you having a reasonable conversation or getting some kind of information from these morons. The latest trend with gray whales seems different, researchers say. It could be a sign of stress in the entire fucking population. The pattern comes amid a big drop in gray whale numbers at the Pacific coast in recent years, which was 10,350, right? I showed you at the beginning. That they acknowledge, which meant there was 10 times as much died and sank. Because they found 10,350. So 100,000 whales died. Gray whales have died. It's like Gaza, where they say the official number is 40,000, right? But clearly, when you look at the independent groups out there, and you look at 90,000 people are injured, and how many people are buried under, the actual number is more like 250,000 people are died because of bombs blowing up everywhere. They don't have, against people that don't have an air force or an army or navy or jets or drones or tanks or helicopters or anything else. I mean, when you look at this whale here, this is off California. That's a peanut head you're looking at. And there's not a marine biologist or academic out there that the second they see the head, they don't say, hey, that's emaciated. There's not one out there. Well, let's read the story and see what their version is. From 2018 to 2023, the die-off. Now, the die-off was going all the way before, post-Fukushima. Say 2013 in particular, to 2018 was mass die-off. So let's just whitewash all of that, scrap all that. Let's talk about from 2018 to 2023. NOAA, who are the worst people I've ever come across, a government agency, called an unusual mortality event was likely due to a shortage of food. So they removed 2013 to 2017, and the exact same thing was happening. And then they claimed that it was only from 2018 to 2023. Because they're being directed by more idiots. The nuclear industry is at the root of all of this misery. was likely due to it wasn't likely due to a shortage of food. It was due to a broken food chain. You silly, despicable, ridiculously evil creatures. But then it fell by at least 1/3 by 2022. Hundreds of malnourished / emaciated, malnourished, refusing to say the word emaciated, because emaciated sounds a lot worse than malnourished, doesn't it? His baby or the mama daddy whale never gave him enough fucking biscuits. Began to wash up in beaches in Alaska, Washington, Oregon, California, Mexico, and nobody knew why. 2022. Like 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. The die-offs met all the obligations and criteria for an unusual mortality event. Nobody knew why, because nobody's allowed to talk about Fukushima. No, Fukushima didn't happen. It's ridiculous. I see whenever I talk to these fucking idiots, and these are idiots, they'll roll their eyes. The minute they hear the word Fukushima, they'll roll their eyes like, oh, well, they're crazy. And they're educated, incredible education, but they're incapable and incompetent. And they get their degrees at these local universities, and they're the most arrogant fucking pieces of shit you're ever going to come across. So this is the airborne radiation at 16 days, covers the entire planet. This is at 1 million to 10 million atoms of cesium-137 per cubic meter of air. And cesium-137 pulses energy 600 feet every second. It's going to be here for at least 300 years, but there's going to be 100 times more strontium-90 with the same half-life. And strontium-90 is brutal. The cesium will end up in your thyroid too, by the way, and mutate your hormones. And the strontium-90, which is a 101 ratio after the first 1,000 days, and it lasts for tens of thousands of days, is a bone seeker, and that mutates your stem cells, particularly anything developing, like baby animals and baby insects and baby birds and baby fish and everything else. So you got an airborne plume covered the planet in 16 days, but the sea plume covers it in 6 years. So the reality of it was, though, once the airborne plume happens, and I'll show you ahead, this is 16 days when it stops, all the ocean, all the fresh water, everything is contaminated. All the forest are full body x-rays. All the ocean, everything at the surface, the phytoplankton, is immediately destroyed because it's a single cell, right? And the zooplanktons and everything else. and then anything that eats that is bioaccumulating copious amounts of radiation. And whales were predicted, for instance, the killer whales were predicted by 2018 or something to have 1,000 atoms a kilogram anthropogenic man-made radiation in their bodies, and each just wrecks the immune system of everything, and they're more susceptible to pathogens and viruses than we're normally. Let me make sure I got that. Excellent connection. That's good. So hard to work the small gear. Let me show you now. Let's bring up the poll. Somewhere. Is Fukushima thousands of times worse than Chernobyl and the cause of the mass die-offs and extinction level event? Nice censorship tonight. Thanks, guys. You're so good at your jobs. It's amazing. You guys are wonderful. Your friends and family must love you. Can you imagine censoring stories like this for a living? Can you imagine what kind of moron you actually got to be to get that job? Oh, let's give that job to so-and-so. He's a fucking idiot. He's perfect. That's the people that got that particular job, right? At YouTube. Could be related to climate change, right? The garbage can diagnosis. Way to fucking go, man. Why were you speeding? The police officer said, just tell him climate change. If your significant other asks why you didn't bring milk home like you were supposed to, say, climate change. It happens. One key question, will the number of grey whales in the bay go down after food in the Arctic recovers? Will the number of grey whales in the bay go down after food in the Arctic recovers? So they're saying the Arctic is the most important resource for the species. It's kaputz. Well, that was interesting. See the birds? Puffins? What year was that picture, I wonder? Tourists blasted of a chaotic Anzac Day scene at the beach with 100 whales washed up. And they were riding them like ponies. Because we're morons. Society has turned into a moron society because they look at the media, right? They go to all the mainstream media, and that's the quickest, easiest way to end up stupid as a fucking rock. Tourists been advised to risk harming themselves and the animals to try to help them on their own. Yeah, only the degenerate industries can come there and do it. The animals only have a short period of time, and you got a bunch of people there. There's always somebody going to take charge. And it's been done many times successfully, too, by just the normal slaves. The last thing you want is the so-called professionals coming in because, we can't do nothing. It's a Wednesday. We got to get home in time for a meeting. We're going to have to put them all down. After hundreds of tourists flocked to take selfies with a pod of dying stranded whales, it's in Australia. Australia is basically Britain. How long did it take them to disarm the Australians? It's almost impossible to get like a 410 for shooting rabbits or partridge or something. Totally disarmed them. And how are you going to fight back without no weapons in this society? I wonder, how's that work? Danny, you got nothing to talk about, Danny. You're in Canada. Yeah, I know. Don't remind me. Touche. Efforts to save the whales were being hampered by the presence of children who are reportedly riding the bodies of dead whales. They're probably politician children or marine biologist children, right? That's probably who's doing it. Or nuclear scientist children, most likely. Hey, boy. Earlier, over 100 whales... it's legal for them to do it, by the way, so shut the fuck up. Earlier, over 100 whales were reported beached on Toby's Inlet, 250 kilometers south of Perth. The Department of Conservation immediately took to social media to remind those wishing to help the whales were likely stressed and to stay away unless they are registered as a volunteer. Yeah, you just gotta go give us our $10 fee and you can go help the fucking whales too. Unless you're registered as a volunteer. See, it's better to let the animals die on the beach than it is to try to fucking help them, is it? That's your priority by the sounds of it. The highest priority at mass whale stranding events is human safety first and then followed by the animals' welfare. Spoken like a true degenerate scumbag. We want all staff and volunteers to go home safe. So everybody got to have the proper amount of digits too, or everybody got to come from the same university? How's that work? I wonder. Have they all got to donate to a certain political party before they can join? Is that how that works? I wonder. Reports of children riding the dead whales like ponies and dogs causing a nuisance. That's Australia, man. And if you think I swear a lot, you should go down to Australia and get a load of the madness down there. Over 25 whales have been pushed out to sea by volunteers, the bastards. And efforts were ongoing to save more. Sadly, at least 23 have died because the people that wanted to help them weren't registered. Like, well, we're not registered. We can't push the whale back in the water. They don't even have internet connection here to get registered. We can't do it. Kids might as well ride them. Besides, their parents are school teachers and biologists and marine scientists. They're entitled. They're allowed to do it. That kid over there is a nuclear scientist kid. He can do whatever he fucking wants. His parents work for the nuclear industry. They're like gods. Between 50 and 100 polar whales are stranded in the Western Australia beach. There's like, during the nuclear testing, there was strandings. But generally, it's a very rare thing pre-Fukushima. Rescuers successfully sent more than 20 whales back out to sea. Rescuers. But if you're just a normal person and you're not signed up as a volunteer, you're no longer a rescuer. You can be a hero if you want to, but just Guitar Pro hero and GoPro hero. But you can't be a normal hero to your children because you can't compete with Superman and Spider-Man and the Hulk, right? You can only be a hero with GoPro or a Guitar Hero. Sadly, only the registered volunteers were allowed to help, and so lots of whales died. Whale that washed up on the beach could be the world's rarest. And precious little is known about the spade-toothed whale. The emaciated spade-toothed whale, actually. Bless their little hearts. No live sighting ever recorded. No one knows how many there are, what they eat, or where they live in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. It would be the first specimen found in a state that would permit scientists to dissect it. Scientists? You mean scumbags. Just call it like it is. Allowing them to map the relationship of the whale to a few other of the species and learn what it eats, and perhaps learn to clue what they live. Nothing is currently known about the whale's habitat. That's the only reason they're still alive, probably. But that whale looks emaciated. I got his tail. Let's go. Let's roll, baby. It's a beak whale, anyway. We know that much. Some kind of beak whale. Hundreds of starving birds are showing up in the California beaches. Emaciated birds. Imagine that. I never heard that before. That's crazy. How is that even possible? The Conservation Center in California taking in hundreds of malnourished / emaciated birds are facing weather-driven starvation. Weather-driven starvation. Like, what does that even mean? What the fuck is a weather... These are birds that are millions of generations living in harmony with the ocean. Ooh, yeah. We're killing it tonight, are we? How many? 22 current viewers. And 20 likes and 21 votes. I'm just killing it. That's what a decade of hard work gets you. A massive audience. Bless your heart by every one of you, by the way. Joe Rogan, of course, he can sit there and curse and swear and talk about the stupidest shit. And he'll have 12 million views at 12 hours in. And he'll have 44,000 yucks in his comment section. And everybody that talks about nonsense is put up on a pedestal, way up. And so that's the recipe that works. So the next video is going to be the same thing. And wow, they get another 1 million views. And well, let's just talk about nonsense. That's the way to go. That's talking shit. That's what they call it, right? That's what Joe Rogan calls it, talking shit. Weather-driven starvation. I think we should do an experiment where we take all the nuclear scientists and bring them out there on a boat and see if they starve to death in bad weather. Well, no nuclear scientists will just eat each other's fucking vomit or something. Care facilities have reached more than 800 brown pelicans, 400 which were brought in dead or near death. $400 were brought in dead. 400 dead ones were brought in or near death. Which meant 4,000 died, right? Hundreds more are showing up on the beaches, so 7,000 died. You're only going to find like 10% or something. Hundreds more are showing up dead on beaches throughout the state. The International Bird Rescue in Fairfield, California alone has treated some 300 starving pelicans / emaciated birds. I'm sure they got a million excuses, have they? Meanwhile, the Wetlands and Wildlife Care Center in Huntington Beach, California, is treating a large influx of pelicans. They got dozens of calls from people finding birds in their backyards and their parking lots. And so I'm surprised you weren't screaming fucking bird flu for this one, eh? But it was because they already, I guess people had already started reporting they were emaciated. When you're finding them in the backyards and in parking lots, and that they're starving to death, then they had traveled as far as they could. They couldn't find any food, and that was their final destination then now, right? Way off the beaten track. Every species has these same attributes. But everything's okay, Data. Learn to like nuclear. Watch some Simpsons, Dana. That'll bring you around. You'll start loving nuclear. Experts say an unusual weather event is to blame. A late spring storm that causes low visibility, making hunting difficult for the birds. Well, like after rain, the visibility is really bad because of all the runoff from the forest and sediment and everything. But also, storms are normal. We've been having them for millions of years. I guess scientists didn't know about that. And that during the summer seasons, water visibility is terrible. As a commercial diver, I used to work 6 hours. It was equal to going in a closet and turning off the lights and going to work for 6 hours because of the blooms of the sperms, and because the ocean used to be a soup of life, right? But even more so during breeding season for all the snails and mollusks and seashells and starfish and oysters, and the ocean would be literally, you couldn't see this far in front of your face because of all that life. Always bad visibility. And that usually lasts about 3 to 4 months every year during this specific time too. So saying a late spring storm caused low visibilities, and that made hunting difficult for the birds, which are genetically designed to work in this environment. Like, to come out and say because of bad weather, and it's hard for me not to sit here and call you a fucking piece of shit every time that we do these shows. And tonight is one of those nights where I can't do it. I have to call you a fucking piece of shit for suggesting that a storm is behind the broken food chain. Refusing to acknowledge, it's just impossible to imagine that they don't know about Fukushima, but I guess they don't. Director of Research and Veterinary Science, International Bird Rescue. Pelicans take extra risk when they're hungry, Dana. I'm a veterinarian, so shut up, Dana. You're a moron. A similar incident happened in 2022 when officials identified more than 800 starving pelicans. See, a starving pelican is also a emaciated pelican. And the influx of dead or starving birds, they died from starvation. So the influx of emaciated birds could last for several more weeks. They need more food than usual because they're replacing all that body mass they lost. They have to metabolism of a baby. I'm almost ashamed to be a human when I read these stories, by the way. There's lots of attribution studies and other lines of evidence showing the autumn winter storms like this are more damaging because of climate change. It's a lecturer in climate science at the degenerate Imperial College of London. Imperial College of London are literally, these academics are the worst humans. We see them all the time, rolled out for certain events, and they're the worst humans imaginable. Like, it's a blight on society. That institution should never exist. Every academic should be charged with crimes against humanity that we've covered from that place. Their job is to cover up crisis. It's called social engineering, actually. There's a you can get a degree in that too, right? Social engineering, how to fuck over entire populations. And most of the people that gravitate to that, their parents worked in that industry already, right? So they're guaranteed a job with the industries. Oh, great. Fewer bees and other pollinating insects lead to shrinking crops. Fewer bees. There's an understatement. Oh, and other pollinating insects like butterflies and moths and, important species lead to shrinking. So we not only got fish that are shrinking, birds that are shrinking, whales that are shrinking, but the crops are shrinking too, Dana. My patience with this industry is shrunk too, by the way. And so I apologize because I get a little cranky sometimes. And I don't sugarcoat it like I normally do, right? And that offends people, I know, because I can be pretty rough. I can be pretty rough on people. Because I don't know how to sugarcoat things appropriately anyway. I never did. I was very, very... I'm really good at telling the truth. I'm a fucking scumbag. I'm really good at that stuff, but I'm sugarcoating a misinformed scientist. I don't know how to do that routine, right? It feels better when I say fucking scumbag. Many plants from crops to carnations cannot bear fruit or reproduce without the bees and the beetles and the butterflies, and the moths and everything else to pollinate them. And the population of insect pollinators is dropping in the USA like everywhere else. Well, we can't find spiders because you normally check spider webs to see what species are in an area. And it could be up to 500,000 spiders in the forest per acre. And a few years back, I was out in the forest, and this retired teacher from, I think, Gander or something came by. He just retired, and his other friend was a current teacher. And they stopped at this river that I was camped at. And I was looking, I had the underwater drone, I was looking for salmon. Fishers and Oceans came by and told me there was none, came through the gate and asked me, did I see any? I had a great conversation with them. They told me horror stories about the insects missing. And so this ex-academic, or this current academic, and a retired academic, when they wanted to go fishing in the river, I said, you can't because it's closed and there's no salmon anyway, right? But what's there needs to be able to go and lay eggs. And they were upset that they weren't allowed to do what they wanted to do in a closed river. I had finally said to them, well, Fishers and Oceans comes in here all the time, right? They'll take your vehicle, And so they finally give it up. But anyway, they were asking me what I was doing. I said I was researching species. And so they kept asking questions. Finally, I said, I'm looking for spiders. And I said, there's none in the forest. There should be 500,000 per acre. And one of the academics looks at me and he says, I didn't know spiders lived in the woods. And I was literally finished with the conversation with him at that point. I was just like, that is the most terrifying statement coming from an academic I've ever heard. Oh, I didn't know spiders lived in the woods. Really? You think there's only the trees that live in the woods? Like, how do you respond to that without being fucking rude? Oh, climate change. Don't forget climate change. Invasive plants, diminishing habitats. First off, like, they'll talk about the cities and how the lights in the cities are the reason behind the insects decline, right? Because all the lights are killing themselves and everything else. But most of the planet is not lit. It's like saying that you need to keep your lawn longer because the birds need somewhere to eat and the insects need somewhere to hang out. But birds, for instance, can fly to the edge of the community into the open forest and eat all the insects they want, right? No. And the majority of the little birds you're seeing are not insect-eating birds, they're seed-eating birds. The majority of the insect-eating birds are mostly gone post-Fukushima. And she's an assistant professor, so you can't talk to people like this at all, eh? Explains why these insects are in decline and climate change. Alrighty. She's a professor, so she didn't get the job because she's smart. She got the job because she's a good bootlegger. Bees are the primary pollinators for a lot of plants, but flies, wasps, beetles, butterflies also play an important role. A small percentage of flowering plants are pollinated primarily by the wind, with new research suggests as much as 90% require animal pollinators. So 90% of the flowers, plants, need an animal pollinator. Although birds, bats, and other mammals also pollinate, insects are the main pollinators for the vast majority of those 90% of plants. That's quite interesting. Without insects and their pollinators, the plant would not be able to reproduce. We see a dramatic decline in plant diversity and an abundance. How can you have a dramatic decline in plant diversity and an abundance? How does that fucking work? Without insect pollinators, these plants wouldn't produce the seeds and the fruit that feed many animals, including people. So there you have it. And this was something we were seeing. Was a lot of the fruit are in the forest in late October, November. It all should be gone, right? And that they didn't break down even over in the winter. They're still there. And it's because there's so much radiation there that the bacteria that would normally break them down can't live there. And so a lot of these fruits will live all winter long because they can't break down anymore. To the bioaccumulation of the system. And we've seen that that's why the forest doesn't break down. That's why we've seen the major forest fires and flash floods worldwide, is because we destroyed the ecosystem so bad, particularly like the bacteria and the fungus, which is the foundation of all plants, for instance. And then if they don't have that ecosystem, the plant and trees and forests and everything else don't work. You need that for the habitat, so that the foliage and the litter, when it hits the ground, there's that ecosystem that'll break that down and turn it and recycle it, right? But it's not happening. And so the ground is not sucking up water anymore. And what that means, of course, is now you're having flash floods, and that the ground stays really warm. It doesn't stay cool. This is why we're seeing these heat waves. And so when you get lightning strikes, now the foliage and the litter didn't break down. And so you have this big, huge foliage that floats up in thousands of feet, and this big fire, a big chunk of fire drops down on the earth, and because it's so tinder dry, and because the ground is already so warm, because it's not perspiring, it doesn't soak up water anymore. And this is also why we've seen these mass flash floods worldwide that are running through cities that have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, never seen it. And but the real cause is clear. What's going on is the ground is not soaking up the water, and that's because we killed the bacteria and the fungus, which was, we've seen these studies at Chernobyl, right? And that's how the ecosystem, it needs that stuff, right? And we know that fungus is one of the biggest aggregators of radiation, so that killed all the species, and then the fungus can't live without the species. And some might say the species were created so the fungus can exist, that the fungus is the intelligent life. In some ways they're right, because it's not the intelligence that people typically think, right? Recent studies have shown pretty dramatic declines in insects generally, and shown even in conservation lands. Yeah, because radiation doesn't respect any fences or boundaries or mountains or anything else. I study primary native wild bees. Here in North America, we have between 4,000 and 5,000 species. And the pollinators that tend to be the most at risk are the ones that are specialists and those that require really unique specialized food. Well, we broke the food chain. Everywhere. Not just the ocean, but everywhere. Crops pollinated by animals, primary insects, make up about 1/3 of our agricultural productions in terms of acreages. And a study in the state of Georgia found over US $360 million per year in crop pollinating services provided by insects in that state alone. So people who have like beehives, they can bring them to farms and set them up, and the bees will pollinate the whole farming area. Insect pollinators like wasps and flies are carnivores in the larval stage, so during that time they need to eat small arthropods like spiders and centipedes and insects. The spiders were wiped out, right? And by proxy then so did the other species. And the majority of our insect pollinators nest below ground. And other pollinators nest in woody debris. But you gotta have the bacteria and the fungus in that ecosystem for these habitats to work, right? It's very important. Additionally, pollinators need environments that are free from toxins. Well, good luck on that one. Ooh. So how many people did I offend tonight, I wonder? I'm really bad. I'm really good at offending people, but I don't care what I don't care in the context of it's impossible not to offend everybody. I guarantee I will offend everybody. And you will, if you do what I'm doing, you will offend every fucking buddy out there too. I'm actually pretty good at not offending people, but when you get nights like this where I'm really upset, I see these die-offs and I get really upset about it. I'm really passionate about it. I say some pretty nasty stuff. It's true. And what I say is true on top of that. I just don't know how to hold back sometimes. Usually I'm not too bad. It changes the average temperature the pollinators are experiencing. It's climate change. It changes the average temperature. Yeah, because the Earth no longer soaks up water, so it heats up. The ocean are no longer producing oxygen, and so their cycle is screwed up, so they heat up. The atmosphere is saturated with isotopes, and so they're pulsing energy almost at the speed of light every second. The forests are saturated with isotopes, so they're full body X-rays on every species in the forest every second at the speed of light. And when nothing on the planet has an autoimmune trigger to defend against anthropogenic man-made radiation's emissions. And so there's only one possible outcome. The nuclear industry knew this during inception. And the Secrecy Act that they implemented for the Manhattan Project, that never went away. And so they're the ones that are causing all the misery and allowing the industry to proliferate. Not that it's doing that anymore. The industry is going backwards. Nuclear is doing every dirty trick it can just to keep the reactors they got running. And almost every single reactor is surrounded by farms as far as you can see. And so if you're eating that food, you're going to get heart problems, liver problems, lung problems, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, diabetes, Down syndrome, schizophrenia. It's all going to come. Radiation blues affecting all we knew. It changes the average temperature that these pollinators are experiencing and increases the chance of extreme temperatures and weather events. And if you look at Fukushima as a post-Fukushima after 2011, oh great, that's Chicago. Oh. Hey, scumbag, what the fuck do you want, scumbag?
Yo, still stupid lies.
What lies?
Hey, Mr. Dana.
What do you want, scumbag?
Mr. Dana, we make...
Have you got?
Mr. Dana,
I
we
thought.
make video.
I thought.
Mr. Dana, we make video.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Dana, on Tokyo Bureau channel. You're coward.
I'm a coward, am I? How so?
Don't be coward. Play video.
Play what video?
Stupid idiot. Scammer.
How am I a scammer though? Did the reactors blow up or not? Hey, scumbag,
Yeah,
scumbag.
stupid scammer.
Hey, scumbag, did the reactor...
Everyone knows except...
Knows what?
Everyone knows.
Knows
You're
what?
a stupid scammer.
Knows
You
what?
play my video, coward, alright? You'll play Tokyo Bureau video. Hello, Mr. Dana.
So you
Yeah,
did...
scammer.
So I thought you had Stinkfoot coming after me. What the fuck was that all about? Jesus Christ. They're coming after me now, folks. Oh. Planting a diversity of flowering... I thought they gave up on me. Planting a diversity of flowering plants for pollinators is one of the best things you can do. Aim to have at least 3 plants flowering at any given time and look for the diversity of flower covers and shapes. Don't worry, calm down, Charlie. We'll play your video. It won't be tonight, but probably tomorrow night if everything goes right. We got no problem with that. We know what you're like. We actually got a song about him. Calm down. I got 5 songs about Calm Down Charlie. Yoshida Mashata from the Tokyo division in Chicago. Danish insect farms set sights on feeding Europe's livestock. And so this was a little farm that showed up out of nowhere. This is the only company that got over there doing it. They got 237,000 square feet factory where they intend to produce 10,000 tons of insect meal and oil each year. That's 22 million pounds. Its products will initially be used by farmers for animal feed and perhaps in the future for human consumption. Radiation blues. I'll look for that song. Maybe we'll play it now. I look for that song. I was thinking I should play that song, but I don't think. Play the song at the end of the show here. In 2020, a report by the University of Copenhagen showed that importing soy products for live feed emitted 7 million tons of planet-heating carbon dioxide. Well, carbon dioxide doesn't heat a planet up. It doesn't pulse energy almost at the speed of light every second for millions of years like nuclear does. And so how can you... Because we got a video there... I don't think I got time to play it, but we got a video there of carbon. Maybe I should play it. Give me a second then. Let's see here. I got it there. So here's the truth. There's a couple of videos. I'm not going to play. Well, maybe I will play both of them. Let's do that. They're short videos, so it only takes up a little bit of time, but they're actually quite important. What percentage of CO2 is our atmosphere? I got to put this on my microphone because I'm going to turn it off. And then I got to jack up their volume, and so I might have to play it twice to get it to work.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just hang
Panelists.
on. I'm going to restart
Let me
it.
just go right down the line real fast. What percent of our atmosphere is CO2? Take your best guess. You don't have to be
I'm
accurate.
going to start it again here.
All down the line.
Repeat that question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Panelists. Let me just go right down the line real fast. What percent of our atmosphere is CO2? Take your best guess. You don't have to be accurate. All down the line.
Repeat that question.
What percent of our atmosphere is CO2, carbon dioxide? Wild guess, it's okay.
I'll bite 5%.
5?
I'll just follow you then.
We'll go 7. That's my favorite number.
I'll see their 5 and suggest that we know that transportation causes 49% of CO2, so that's why we're all working on energy transition.
All right. So what number do you think it is?
5.
5? How about you? I didn't hear you, Mr. Dreyer.
7.
7. Did you have one, Mr. Boyd?
So we got a 5, 7,
This Price is Right.
8. I'm going
Okay.
to get the high end.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, and I don't mean to put you on ice. I ask a lot of people that because all we hear is climate change, CO2, CO2. I heard a couple of you on the panel saying you're looking to change your vehicles to electric, even though we don't have the electric grid. And me as a farmer, I wouldn't be real happy about running out and replacing $300,000, $500,000, $1 million pieces of equipment because someone wants it to be electric. The answer is 0.04%. Not 1%, not a half of a percent. It's 0.04%, and it's gone up from 0.03 over the last couple decades. This is what we're being all contorted into doing, is this tiny change in CO2. If we get below 0.02, plant life starts dying off.
So 0.04%. If it gets down below 2%, plants will stop growing. Okay, so hang on, wait. I got another short video. It's really cool. And it's CO2, right? Yeah, here it is. Just give me 7, I'll cue it up for you. And we're almost there. And it's kind of important, so let's play this one. Oh, volume is off. So yeah, I thought Tokyo Bureau had Stinkfoot coming after me. Well, let's get over to the other thing here. So this one here, I'm probably going to have to adjust the volume on this one too. So if I stop it, just give me a second. I'll adjust the volume. I just got to go back and fix that other volume before I start anything. Here we go. Sorry for the delay. So this is 5th graders. They had 2 different experiments, and one had double CO2. And guess what happened? Did the plants die or did they get bigger? Oh, that's right. We got shitty music. Hang on here. Here we go. And so this is a 180% increase in atmospheric CO2 from 450 parts per million, what you got right now. They increased to 1,270. Look what plants came up first was the high CO2. The stem height at harvest is 52% increase. But this is 5 days in. Which plant got the head start with the one with the most CO2? So stem weight was 21% increase at 7 days in. $1,278 parts per million. What kind of environment do you think would be best for food? Well, the higher CO2. The radiation killing all the pollinators, and you got trying to blame CO2, which is your best friend. It's a pretty low life thing to do, right? So which one would you rather have? That's the big question. So incredible. Let me go back to that for one more second. A total difference, right? So CO2 is clearly, the higher CO2 is what this planet needs. Not less. Is not a pollutant, period. I didn't alter it. All I done was showed you the documentation, right? In 2020, a report by the University of Copenhagen showed importing soy products for livestock feed emitted 7 million tons of planet heating. Well, no, the 7 million tons is what made plants grow. And I can guarantee you they're using CO2 on the farm to grow the food to feed those insects. So what's behind Charlie's panic tonight, I wonder? Anybody don't know who Calm Down Charlie is? He's quite famous around here. We despise him, eh? But he's quite famous. He's a notorious mouthpiece for the nuclear industry from Japan, apparently. He's been stalking me for about 10 years. And he allegedly hired Thunderfoot, also known as Stinkfoot, to beat me up. And what they do to me, though, the desperation is so obvious every single time. They're just like, you can hear them, they're almost ready to cry. That's when he hung up the phone that time. He was literally crying on the other side of the phone. I do, leave me alone. He was literally crying. Accounting for 60% of the total CO2 emissions from the Danish agricultural. According to the International Platform of Seeds, Insects for Food and Feed, the industry is growing and insect meal production could reach 1 million tons by 2030. So this is just a single company in this country. Millions of black flies buzzed inside of 500 plastic cages, laying hundreds of thousands of eggs every day. A roar of insects, you can't escape it. And who incessantly lay eggs throughout their 10-day lifespan. And the female fly lays its eggs in this piece of cardboard. Just very gruesome stuff, isn't it? She like 20 million pounds just a year. So she's making $1 a pound. She's going to be rich. She can't wait. She's got to convince you to fucking eat her garbage. And who wants to eat something like that? So they make flour with a protein content of 55%. Well, you can get that same if you took shit from the sewage and dehydrated it and filtered it, you can produce a better product. But I wouldn't eat it. I still wouldn't eat it. It's the same thing, right? Grasshoppers and locusts among 16 insects approved as food in Singapore. Why would he care about Singapore? University of Netherlands recorded 2,100 edible species of insects around the world. So why are they going this route all of a sudden? Because we're seeing an extinction event of all the species. The climate crisis has impact on insects' colors and sex lives, the study finds. Scientists fear adaptations to the global heating may leave some species struggling to mate successfully. Global heating. Scientists fear adaptation to global heating, which, if you look at it, when did all of this stuff start? It's post-Fukushima, after Fukushima nuclear meltdowns. So I'm trying to work out what happens to the insect sex lives. So why are you telling us about it if they haven't worked it out? I got a story for you. It's called an extinction event. And I bring so much information to the table. I know what you're saying, Dana. You got a pretty tough personality sometime. You fucking would too. You would too. Scientists are still trying to work out what will happen to insects' sex lives now that the human-induced climate breakdown is raising temperatures to unprecedented levels. Climate change, which is radioactive fallout, 80 years of radioactive emissions, radioactive dumping, nuclear fuel pools splitting atoms into the ecosystem. There's 1,000 plus nuclear fuel pools with decades of reactor cores in each one. And each reactor core powered 1 million homes, and those atoms, so say a fuel pool got 4 reactor cores. Well, that's the same amount of atoms you would normally use to power 4 million homes and businesses. There's no containment, and it's released into the ecosystem where it never goes away, and where it attacks everything with replicating cells. Why aren't we fighting back? Why are we? And so the industry got a big fucking problem. Apparently their biggest problem, and I hate saying this, is me. I seem to be their focus of fucking hate from every direction too, for years and years and years. If they can just get rid of me, everything would go back to the normal scam, right? But to call me in and call me a scammer and everything else on the phone, that's some serious desperation. I can't wait to see his little videos. I don't believe he done anything himself. I know, it's going to be stupid as fuck, right? It's going to be so stupid. But hey, whatever blows your skirt up there, Charlie. Oh, damn, they can't find each other anymore because they have lost really important identification colors that help them find a mate. And so that's an important study. I'm not going to disagree with it. I like the picture the most. The rest of the story I can probably do without. One species in the walking stick insect got greener and darker over time as the temperature got warmer. Yes, as the temperature gets warmer, there's more CO2, which means there's more species. Go to a tropical rainforest and tell me how fucking bad the temperature is. And why the place is loaded with insects, because it's so warm. The mechanism isn't so clear-cut. It's confusion, said another study. These are not studies. These are students, for fuck's sakes, who never done nothing their entire life, only read the book they were given and then draw a conclusion based on no other facts, only theirs. They never said, hey, wait a second, there's that guy out there, Durnford, what's his name, Dana? He's got some interesting theories. Let's have a look at them. For shiny sweet bees, there's so many people attacking me. There's so few people that are honest enough to put up with me, because you're going to be pretty rough to put up with me sometimes. I get that. Let's keep going. From 2020, 2013, 2020, post-Fukushima, as honeybees' hives skyrocketed from 250 to nearly 3,000, native bee populations nosedived. Well, the reason the honeybee hives, each hive can house 50,000 honeybees, leading to significant competition with the solitary wild bees. Well, the wild solitary bee doesn't care about the other species. He lives in harmony with them. He's genetically predisposed. I can't even pronounce words now. And so I'm still laughing about Charlie calling into the show in desperation. I can't wait to see what they got done to me. They're so pathetic, eh? I don't know how they can tie their own fucking shoes when you look at the stuff that they've thrown at me over the years. I'm pretty sure that when they get up in the morning, their mommy and their whoever it is dresses them. It's not just native bees that are declining, but also butterflies, moths, and other key pollinators in Canada. Many butterflies and moth species So all the stories are telling us the same fucking thing, isn't it? From all over the world, we're getting the same stories. And everybody's, no, Dana, there's nothing wrong. You scammer. Well, we got another great clip we can chip out now for Calm Down Charlie collection. Got to do a movie on Calm Down Charlie at some point. We got the music already. And I know James was saying last night, he's AI and it's not the same as a real singer. But it's not. A lot of music is not about the singer. Yes, the singer helps. A lot of music is about the words. Right? The words it's the same thing with poetry, right? The words are magic. Especially when they put a lot of thought into it. And it's got a catchy beat. It's true though, right? It's great to have a natural singer, but the artificial ones are pretty friggin' good. If you got me listening to it all the time, it's better than good, trust me. Instead of adding more honeybee hives, let's turn our cities into pollinator paradises. Because by planting native wildflowers, creating habitat corridors, and conducting citywide pollinator health assessments. But so what if your city doesn't have insects? Let's just go there for a second. But you're surrounded by wide open spaces as far as the helicopter can fly, you can see. The vastness is stunning. Like if you flew over British Columbia for 2 hours, it'll blow your mind how vast and expansive and full of trees it actually is. It'll blow your mind. Like it's absurd. And so because these stories are about suggesting that the insects only live in the cities. That's what they're trying to frame you into conceiving, right? Let's forget about Mother Nature, because it's much worse than Mother Nature. At least in the city, people are feeding the insects and birds. They're dropping food all the time, right? They're wasting their pop, and that's good for the sugar cravers, and wasp loves hot dogs, as we all know, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's no shortage of food in the cities. People throwing bird seeds all over the fucking place. They're planting all kinds of wonderful flowers. They're already doing that, see? And then the stories are about slowly but surely indoctrinating the populations that look at these stories into blaming their neighbors, right? Instead of blaming the nuclear industry. The blame should squarely be put up on the nuclear industry. And so, which kind of reminds me, just bear with me for 1 second, because we do got pictures from my recent expeditions. We got so many to get through. That's a bit of a problem too. So 2 days ago, I covered 550 kilometers. It's supposed to be over 550 kilometers. And last night we showed a bunch of these places. Tonight we're going to show some more. I think I know where I left off. Placentia, was it? Argentia? Yeah, Argentia. And so we got a video. There's only a few pictures, and then we'll jump back to the stories again. This was yesterday, and I'm going down. I covered 550 kilometers. I'm looking for little sparrows or finches or anything like that on the highways. And then I'm going into the harbors, into the communities, all along this coastline. We're right out in the Pacific Ocean on a migratory path where there's 46 million migratory birds. The biggest seabird migratory on the planet is right here where I'm too. I'm right smack in the middle of it. And I'm paying attention every day. And I can't find them. So we spent Friday and Saturday, I think it was, doing the east side of the peninsula, the Avalon Peninsula on top of Newfoundland, the west coast, or the east coast of Canada, out in the Atlantic. Now remember, I've done the west coast of British Columbia for 6 years. And I can't find any migratory birds or any birds except for a few residential seagulls. Yeah, so this is Placentia. And this kind of protected area is a beautiful spot. It's all open water right close to it. This would have been normally loaded with all kinds of migratory birds. And I'm going to play a little video coming up once I get through this short amount of it. And what I discovered again, and these are perfect places, and thank God cameras have gotten so good because I'm fucking terrible with cameras. So I don't think I went too far that time. Let me see what I got done here. So we done Ship Cove. Then after Ship Cove would have been, not that one, we done that one. I gotta put the headphones on, just bear with me. I think it's this one, yeah, this one right here, I'm pretty sure. What's up, dog? Where's the audio? Oh, I'm in the way. I got the audio turned off. You expect to see some migratory birds. Okay, we played this one last night. Let's go to the next one. Because this is off the memory card. The memory card was in my camera today, so excuse me. Now this is Gooseberry. So I'm at Goose Cove, and they have a provincial park. Beautiful down here. No birds. I'm gonna get rid of the audio because that's pretty rough, obviously. My apologies. And I really should use an external mic with a sound dampening. I got them, and I just didn't use them. I had no excuses. I'm a moron. I didn't use it. But again, this is the open Atlantic Ocean you're looking at right there. And there's nothing. There is nothing. And I don't rush. I just take my time. And it's just kiltweed on the beaches. No birds on the beaches. And you got people there. And people are eating. And so there's plenty of opportunities for scavengers. They're not even there. And this, I want to do the next one out of curiosity. Oh, he don't matter apparently. This is my truck door. There's no birds there either, by the way. This is St. Bride's. So this is St. Bride's. I'm going to turn the volume down. That's pretty rough on everybody, I'm sure. And it's pretty windy, but it's clear there's no birds. So I'm moving down the coastline. St. Bride's. And there was 2 minks just after this. So there was something. But this is open ocean. There should be something here. Everything looks so much different with the gimbal, eh? It's insane. It's been an insane day. No species whatsoever. 8 hours now. So this was 8 hours in the traveling coastline looking for birds. But the same thing on the highway. You're not seeing any species on the highway. Some difference with the gimbal. At least the gimbal gives you a nice... 8 hours. There's some seagulls out there on the wharf. I didn't even see that. They don't actually count because they're residential, right? They don't count because they're residential. And so it was 10.5 hours on Sunday. That's why I didn't do a show Sunday night because I was burnt out. But I covered 340 miles, 550 kilometers or so. Black bear euthanized after killing a small dog. And so I gather up a lot of stories. I'm just looking for any patterns. And one of the things I'm looking for is hungry bears. The bear appeared to be underweight and in poor condition. Well, there's lots of berries. And so a typical bear will eat 200,000 berries. The big ones will eat 200,000 berries every single day. And so they get leukemia. And then they show up and they can't gain weight because they have leukemia. That's what because radiation works the same in animals as it does in humans. Let me explain that to you maybe, because a lot of people can't wrap their mind around that statement. Some people are just closed mind, and some people are like, calm down, Charlie, or just scumbags. That was some panic though, right? He was panicking when he called me. That was hilarious. We'll chop that out. We'll get his little video and whatever it is he got done for me. And we'll play it tomorrow night. We'll give him his prominence. More than he gave me. He hung up on me when I asked him. You scammer. What kind of fucking reply is that? The bear appeared to be underweight and in poor condition / emaciated. What am I looking for? I forget what I was looking for because I started yakking again. The bear appeared to be in poor conditions and underweight. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter. Boom! Let me keep going here. Shit on Dana time anyway. Everybody has a shit on Dana. It's like a fucking... In the nuclear industry, it's a rite of passage. Everybody has to swear to hate my guts. Oh! The bear appeared to be underweight and poor condition. Black bear euthanized after killing a small dog. And I was going to bring up some other evidence to drive that point home, and I forgot what I said, so that happens. Rabies killed, because normally I can just bring up the evidence, and so calm down, Charlie. He'll chop that out and say, see, Dana was lying. He couldn't find the evidence. Rabies kill 11 fur seals, because you can do it any other time, but he couldn't do it this time. Rabies kill 11... Rabies. Don't hate me. Rabies killed 11 fur seals near Cape Town. And Namibia massacred 86,000. I'll probably remember what I was supposed to do earlier, later here in the show, which is always fun. Where'd Dana go? Where are you two, Dana? I can't see you. The killing is to continue until November the 15th, 2024. Yet much of the world is in a dither because 11 fur seals washed up dead from rabies on a Cape Town beach. Now, how the fuck does a seal get rabies? A first confirmed case of seal rabies in South Africa, you say? No offense to South Africa, but you can't even fucking pick up the garbage on your fucking streets. And you're going to dig up signs to become the first people to identify rabies in emaciated fur seals, are you? Was confirmed by sticking a scope and examining their brains. Turns out that radiation necrosis does the same thing. So this seal has lost all of his fur. He's only got a little tiny bit of fur left. And I got tons of pictures of seals, fur seals, ring seals, on the west coast of British Columbia with that particular affliction, which is known to happen from radiation. No evidence of rabies among the seals in Namibia. Well, they're not healthy. If they got wrinkles, they're not healthy, for instance. The imminent threat to the fur seal population is the killing underway in Namibia. Well, those baby seals I'm seeing are not healthy at all. Right, you can see the babies. They're supposed to be nice and plump, not fucking skinny and full of wrinkles. And the fur is supposed to be symmetric, not little patches. And so these, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 baby seals These are not healthy baby seals. They're not big and plump like a baby seal drinking rich milk would be. Let's go back to the rabbi seals. Rabies, I suppose, is what they're talking about, right? Rabies seals are attacking people in South Africa. Well, you got no food, everything else looks like dinner. You know what they say. They're attacking people. The first known major outbreak of the disease among marine mammals. There's an outbreak of stupid, is more like it. Calm down, Charlie leads the fucking charge on that one. Cape Cod mass stranding of more than 140 dolphins confirmed to be the largest in U.S. history. It was interesting because I'm going to play the clip tomorrow night, but I gave Calm Down Charlie opportunity to why am I a scammer? And you got to watch the video. It's some pathetic fucking stuff, Charlie. Well, I'd rather have him here than molesting his puppies, I suppose. The strandings of more than 140 dolphins off Cape Cod last month has been confirmed as the largest mass stranding of the mammals in United States history, animal rescuers say. 140 dolphins off Cape Cod last month. There was 90 died down here 2 years ago. Barely got a mention. It never got a mention until way after the fact on top of it, right? 140 off Cape Cod, that gets all kinds of mentions. And so according to them, that was the biggest mass stranding. Then what we had here was a significant one, wasn't it? 146 dolphins were involved. The International Fund for Animal Welfare, who I reached out 2 years ago and, of course, didn't reply. Oh, don't you just love this headline? Whales were healthy before the Orkney stranding, says an expert. Well, why would you say something like that? Why did they say that? Why use those connotations? Why frame the narrative that way? Why do that? What's wrong with whales were healthy? It just happened when they put out that headline, so they had no way to quantify those assertions on top of that. And if they would give us clear, and notice the pictures are always these wide pictures. It's very difficult to get a clear shot of their heads to see if they're peanut heads. And look at this, all the heads are facing the opposite way. Because when you see the peanut head, it's really distinct, right? Well, it could be the largest mass stranding in nearly 100 years. First off, this is the British, so just expect no honesty whatsoever. Post-mortem so far carried on about 30 whales. So just about everyone in the UK was involved with the whale stranding is here on Sunday. I think they meant Sunday. We've been taking samples to determine the health status of the whales before the stranding. And according to our initial preliminary findings, they all seem to have been healthy. Well, see, that's not how you would say. You wouldn't say it took samples. You would say that their stomachs were full or their stomachs were empty. That's how they've always done it pre-Fukushima or in the early years, right? But now they're like, oh, we got samples. It looks like preliminarily. They used to always say domoic acid was the most likely causes of all of these die-offs. And it turns out a couple of years later when the reports finally come out that no one cares about anymore, that there was no domoic acid. And they were using that excuse from New Mexico to Alaska. So the whole continental shelf, basically. Post-mortem has so far been carried on about 30 whales, said the peckerheads. And they all seem to be healthy, so it's unlikely there was a sick leader who was trying to stay with and protect. So they're all healthy, so it was unlikely there was a sick leader. And this is the first time I ever heard it, and we've covered absurd amount over just the last 10 years. There's an absurd amount of this stuff. And I've never heard that framed that way before. They actually went against the grain. So what are they going to do? Blame it on bird flu, I guess, is it? Because that's the new fucking boogeyman. Members of the public are being asked to stay away from the area. Well, you better stay away. And cops will sort you out very quick if you go near these. You try to get a picture of the emaciated whales. They don't fucking like that at all. Some of the whales had fresh stomach content. Wow. Which suggests they were feeding around the time they became stranded. Well, let's say they're emaciated and they finally get some food, but they're too weak now to do anything. Or they got leukemia. And it doesn't matter. They'll eat the food, but they can't absorb the nutrition anymore. Because, they got leukemia from all the radiation in their body to produce more white blood cells than red blood cells. But that was really interesting way down the narrative. That's when they plugged that narrative right there. Almost at the end of the story. Some, which meant the majority of them had empty stomachs, right? The beach they were stranded on, this very sandy beach, was often difficult for the whales to detect due to how their acoustics work. In that case, every beach on the fucking planet should have a fence on it, right? This is the most bizarre statement conceivable. It's like these animals exist for millions of generations and developed to live in harmony with the coastlines and the ocean. Period. Like, beaches are not something new for the fucking whales, okay? And another picture facing away. Always facing away, right? But you can clearly see peanut head on this fella right here. And you can see the tail up there is two tails are really skinny. Well, it's actually how many was it ran up there? It's 87, which meant around at least 800 of these had died to find that much showed up on the beach. 3 people in Colorado presumed positive for bird flu. Here comes the fear mongering again. The harshest winter in half a century with extreme conditions, killing more than 4.7 million animals in Mongolia. 4.7 million animals died in Mongolia from extreme cold caused by 80 years of radioactive emissions. And Fukushima was a plume event. So their immune systems were compromised and they couldn't survive the winter. And Mongolia always has harsh winters, right? But when you add radiation into your immune system, destroys your immune system, the winter takes them out. 4.7 million animals. It's heartbreaking. Some of these pictures are going to be pretty rough, folks. Sorry. It's a Mongolian mountain lion, I guess, is it? Or tiger. It looks like he's a pretty big bad boy, that feller. It's an amazing looking creature, isn't it? Yep, got me saddled up on the reindeer. They're riding bareback. And the reindeer like, meh. Well, Latvia, you can't eat the reindeer because of Chernobyl, even now. No fluoride in their water. Look at those chompers. Geez, I'd be proud to have a set of teeth that nice. They could probably fucking chew through aluminum, for Christ's sakes. Excuse the language. Cause of the mass pilot whale stranding at Chernobyl Beach, still no clearer 1 year on. You remember this one? Remember these pictures? 1 year later, still no clearer. And this is the first time we ever seen this behavior. And that really still bothers me now. A pot of 97 pilot whales beached themselves. They got together and said, well, we can't find any food, folks. We're all beat. We might as well finish it here. There's a lot of whales now, post-Fukushima, goes to New Zealand and Australia to die, right? One of the largest mass strandings in Australia history. Australia had nothing but mass strandings post-Fukushima. There's not a year goes by there's not multiple mass strandings, and sometimes up to 600 animals. In fact, some of the headlines are whales refuse to stop killing themselves on Australian beaches. I figured it out earlier. Just put fences on all the beaches. Right? Who's with me? It's just a terrible story, though, isn't it? Then they all just rushed right up on the beach. And these are like the reports we had in 2014, 2015, 2016, were when you had these beachings, where they had empty stomachs. I showed you some of that earlier, I believe. But it's not just pilot whales; it's all the other species. All the whales are doing it. See that whale right there? That's emaciated. See the indentation of its body? That's clearly emaciated. More recently, 77 pilot whales died earlier this month at Orkney's Beach in Scotland. When I'm still not through all this yet. I'm going to have to give it up, I guess. I just realized what time it was, 12:15. So we'll pick up here tomorrow the baby flamingos, saved from drought-decimated lake in Algeria. We still got tons and tons of stuff to get through. My apologies for not doing this earlier. But tomorrow night we're going to pick up on part 3. We'll also find Charlie's assault up on me, whatever the fuck that's going to be. And we'll check it to make sure he's not trying to get me for copyright or something, because you got to worry about that stuff with Charlie. Charlie's a confirmed scumbag, so. There was some desperation tonight in that telephone call. Clearly, like that was desperation. And it's all fun. It's all fun until yeah, well, let's do the poll, I guess. I can do that much. I didn't realize it was 12:15. I was wondering why I felt so tired. Is Fukushima's thousands of times worse than Chernobyl and the cause of the mass die-off and extinction level event? So TEPCO is attacking me. That's what Calm Down Charlie's with TEPCO, right? Yeah, 100%. Just 31 votes. I'm surprised he didn't come in and spam the poll tonight. Usually when we get the unfortunate phone calls from Calm Down Charlie, which is Yoshida Mashada from Tokyo, from the Chicago division, United States, they're usually followed by a lot of spamming, right? These are professional spammers, these guys. Okay, let me see. Oh, I was going to play Radiation Blues tonight. I know last night when I started it off, the music was a bit loud. I don't mind it, though, because it's great stuff. So let's... just got to set myself up for after. I'm going to play out... There's another great song you haven't heard yet, was Radiation Blues. And think about the words, right? This is another one of James' song. I know James is probably embarrassed as fuck right now. God dang, he's not going to do it again. Play another one of my songs. But it's about the words. And if you had a real artist sing it, it'd still be perfect, right? So it doesn't matter. Radiation Blues. This is a Calm Down Charlie song, too, I think. Have a great night, everybody. See everybody on the show tomorrow night. Take care, folks.
Sunrise on the field, whispers in the air. Nature's beauty healed, but something's wrong out there. Winds are blowing strange, paths don't look the same. Water's got that change. Who do we now blame? Radiation blues affecting all we knew. From the ocean floors to sky, tell me why, oh why? Birds ain't singing right, trees are looking pale, moon don't shine as bright, life begins to ebb. Hear the ocean cry, fish can't find a way, eyes up to the sky, praying for the day. Radiation blues affecting all we knew. From the ocean floors to sky, tell me why, oh why? Birds ain't singing right, trees are looking pale, moon don't shine as bright, life begins to ebb. Hear the ocean cry, fish can't find a way, eyes up to the sky, praying for the day. Radiation blues affecting all we knew. From the ocean floors to sky, tell me why, oh why?
Good night, everybody. Make sure you give us a thumbs up if you make it this far. Appreciate it. Have a great night, everyone.